And before we get into more policy-specific questions, I did want to ask you about the inner workings of Lansing. So Michigan's term limit is going to cause a mass turnover this year in the Senate and in particularly in the House. How challenging do you think the loss of institutional knowledge is going to be?
I think the loss of institutional knowledge is important. That's not exactly what I'm so worried about when we talk about term limits. The problem with term limits is that it creates the incentive for every legislator to be looking for their next job because they know that this one has a clock on it. And because of that, it empowers usually lobbyists and legislative staff over legislators themselves to be able to make a good decision. The analogy I always like to use on this one is the difference between a parent and a babysitter, right? A babysitter, their short-term incentives is get the kid to go to sleep, right? And a parent is, yes, get the kid to go to sleep, but also make sure that the kid is healthy, happy, and long-term safe and secure in their lives. And right now, under the term limits that we have, there's very little long-term perspective that legislators carry with them. Usually they're a lot more focused on the short term, quick wins, and then in the long term somebody else to take care of it. And so we've got to do something about these term limits. You're right, though, about the short term. Right now, every single officer in state government is up for re-election, and there will be some huge level of turnover. But I'm confident that that the state right now is under so much pressure to actually deliver on the basic things that they haven't delivered on for a while, that I do believe that we need new blood at the governor's office, certainly, but then also in the legislature, because I think the time is now to be thinking about how we finally make good on commitments that we should have made a long time ago in things like fixing our schools and fixing our roads and fixing state government itself.
Well, you are going to have a lot of new people there that maybe aren't used to the ways and inner workings of Lansing, or used to a lot of these legacy problems that we're facing. How are you going to be able to work with them? How are you going to engage them?
Well, I'll tell you this. Used to legacy problems means that you didn't solve it in the first place, right? I mean, honestly, I want a new crop of leaders in there who haven't gotten used to sitting on legacy problems that they did not solve, right? And I think being able to work with a new crop of folks with new ideas and new perspectives gives us a much better opportunity to actually solve the problems, because these aren't people who are okay with the problems that exist. And so I'm actually really excited about working with a new crop of leaders. I obviously will be a new leader to Lansing, but I want people who are thinking outside the box, who aren't committed to the old issues, but are willing to take the issue, look at it in a different way, and propose new problems, and hopefully get to a solution.
Okay, speaking of long-term problems, we're going to switch to roads and infrastructure. And our first question comes from Riley.
Yeah, before I dive into the roads, I just wanted to clarify about the term limits, because you said, hey, we have to do something about it. What would you recommend changing?
I do not believe in legislative term limits. I just think that I think we need to abolish them. I do believe in gubernatorial term limits. I don't think, the idea behind term limits was that you don't want people there long enough to concentrate power. The executive branch, if you've got, in effect, an unlimited set of terms, that opportunity is high, but for most legislators, that's not really the case. And I do think that we do, over time, lose some of the insight that could be there. And then certainly we lose the ability to think long term about what we're solving and really create big picture wins for the state of Michigan. So I do believe in abolishing legislative term limits.